Never steal from someone who's already lost everything.
The grease from the fryer at Murphy's Bar and Grill has permanently stained my fingernails, but at least it matches the permanent stain on my marriage. I'm flipping burgers at midnight, listening to drunk college kids argue about who's buying the next round, when my phone buzzes with a text from my wife Laura. Working late again. Don't wait up. Working late. Right. The only thing she's been working late on is Scott Morrison, her smug colleague at the law firm. My name is Jason Reed, and 6 months ago I thought I had it all figured out. Nice house in suburban Massachusetts. 2 daughters who still thought I hung the moon, and a wife who used to laugh at my jokes instead of rolling her eyes at them. Now I'm 38 years old, serving wings to kids who weren't born when I graduated high school, and my biggest accomplishment today was not spitting in anyone's food. The transformation didn't happen overnight. It started 2 years ago when my small construction business went under. Nothing dramatic, just the slow strangulation of rising costs, delayed payments, and 3 major clients who decided they didn't need to pay their final invoices. Laura stepped up, took on more cases at her firm, became the breadwinner. I should have been grateful. Instead, I watched her grow colder with each passing month, like she was calculating the exact cost of my failure. "Hey, Jason!" Frankie calls from behind the bar. "Table 6 wants another pitcher." Frankie owns this place, a former boxer whose nose has been broken so many times it looks like abstract art. He threw me this lifeline when I needed work, no questions asked. The pay is terrible, but it beats sitting at home watching Laura's wedding ring collect dust on the kitchen counter. She stopped wearing it 3 weeks ago. I grab the pitcher and head to table 6, where 4 guys in their 20s are deep into their 3rd round of trying to solve the world's problems. They barely glance at me as I pour their beer. I'm invisible here, which suits me fine. Invisibility has become my specialty. My phone buzzes again. This time it's my 12-year-old daughter Beth. "Dad, can you pick me up from soccer practice tomorrow? Mom says she has a meeting." A meeting? Laura's got more meetings these days than the United Nations. I text back that I'll be there, then check the time. Almost 1 in the morning, and Laura's still working. The law firm she works at is ambitious, sure, but they're not running a 24-hour operation. The truth is, I've known about Scott for months. Not because I caught them red-handed or hired a private investigator. Nothing that dramatic. It was the little things. The way she started showering as soon as she got home from work. How she suddenly developed an interest in fitness and joined that expensive gym downtown. The hotel keycard I found in her gym bag last week, tucked between her protein bars and workout gloves. Marriott downtown, room 412. I memorized the numbers before putting it back exactly where I found it. "Jason, you okay?" Frankie's voice snaps me back to reality. "You're staring at that pitcher like it owes you money." "Just thinking," I say, setting the empty pitcher on the bar. "Dangerous habit," Frankie grins, but his eyes are concerned. He knows something's wrong, has known for weeks. But Frankie's old school. He doesn't pry, just keeps the work coming and the beer cold. The bar starts emptying out around 1:30. I'm wiping down tables when my phone rings. Laura's name flashes on the screen, and for a split second, I consider not answering. But old habits die hard. "Hey," I say, keeping my voice neutral. "Jason, I'm going to be really late tonight. This case is ending me." Her voice sounds strained, but not from work stress. It's the strain of someone trying to sound convincing while lying through their teeth. "No problem. I'm at Murphy's anyway." There's a pause. Right. The bar. The way she says it. The bar. Like I'm some kind of alcoholic instead of a guy trying to pay his bills. The condescension in those 2 words tells me everything I need to know about how far we've fallen. "Beth needs a ride tomorrow," I say. "I can't. I have a client meeting." "On Saturday?" Another pause. It's complicated. Everything's complicated with Laura these days. Our marriage, our finances, our future. All complicated. What's not complicated is the fact that she's lying to me while I'm standing in a dive bar at 2 in the morning, smelling like French fry oil and failure. I'll handle it, I say. Thanks. You're. She stops herself before saying whatever she was going to say. Probably something about me being a good father, which would be ironic coming from someone who's been lying to her family for months. After she hangs up, I finish cleaning and help Frankie close up. The streets are empty, except for a few late-night stragglers and the occasional police cruiser. I drive home through neighborhoods I used to feel proud to live in, past houses where normal families are sleeping in the same beds, not playing elaborate games of deception and avoidance. Our house is dark when I pull into the driveway. Laura's car isn't there, of course. Inside, I check on the girls. Beth and 8-year-old Janie are both sound asleep. They look peaceful, innocent, completely unaware that their world is about to implode. I sit in the kitchen with a beer and stare at that hotel key card, which I've now moved to my wallet. Room 412. I could drive downtown right now, knock on that door, and end this charade once and for all. But something holds me back. Maybe it's cowardice, or maybe it's the knowledge that once I open that door, there's no going back. The next morning, Beth climbs into my truck after soccer practice, her cleats muddy and her ponytail coming loose. She's got Laura's eyes but my stubborn chin, and lately she's been watching me with a mixture of pity and concern that no 12-year-old should have to feel for their parent. "Dad," she says as we're driving home, "who's Uncle Scott?" My hands tighten on the steering wheel. "What?" "Mom's friend. He picked her up from my school yesterday. She said he was Uncle Scott, but I've never met him before." The lie is so casual, so practiced, that I almost admire Laura's audacity. Uncle Scott. Like giving him a family title somehow makes the betrayal more palatable. "Just someone from her work," I managed to say. "He drives a really nice car, a BMW." "Of course he does." Scott Morrison, with his perfect teeth and his expensive suits and his BMW. I've seen him at a few firm parties over the years, the kind of guy who calls everyone buddy and talks about his golf handicap, the kind of guy who probably thinks my construction background makes me some kind of Neanderthal. "Dad, you okay?" I look at Beth in the rearview mirror. She's studying me with those sharp eyes, and I realize I can't protect her from this much longer. Kids see everything, even when we think we're being subtle. "I'm fine, kiddo, just thinking about work." But I'm not thinking about work. I'm thinking about room 412 and Uncle Scott, and the way Laura's been rewriting our family history to accommodate her new reality. I'm thinking about how long this has been going on and whether my daughters have been watching their mother lie to their father for months. That night, after the girls are in bed, Laura comes home with takeout Chinese food and a story about depositions running late. She's gotten better at the details, specific case names, believable timelines, even a few complaints about opposing counsel. If I didn't know better, I might actually believe her. We eat in relative silence, making small talk about the girls' schedules and weekend plans. Laura mentions she might have to work Saturday afternoon. Another client meeting. I nod and ask if she needs me to handle anything with the kids. We're so polite, so civilized. We've become strangers sharing a house and a mortgage. After dinner, she goes upstairs to shower. I clean up the kitchen and try to pretend this is normal, that marriages survive on takeout Chinese food and elaborate deceptions. When she comes back down, she's wearing the silk pajamas I bought her for Christmas, the ones she used to save for special occasions. "I'm exhausted," she says, kissing my cheek with lips that taste like mint mouthwash. "Don't stay up too late." She heads upstairs and I hear our bedroom door close. Not slam. Laura's too controlled for dramatics. Just a soft click that might as well be a thunderclap. I sit in the living room with the television on, not really watching whatever late-night movie is playing. Instead, I'm thinking about the man I used to be. Jason Reed, small business owner. Jason Reed, husband and father. Jason Reed who built things with his hands and took pride in honest work. That Jason Reed is gone, replaced by this hollow version who serves beer to college kids and pretends not to notice when his wife lies to his face. But maybe it's time for another transformation. Maybe it's time to stop being the victim in my own story. I pull out my phone and do something I've been avoiding for weeks. I call my old friend Mike Torres, who now works as a private investigator. We grew up together, played baseball in high school, were each other's best men at our weddings. Jason? Mike's voice is surprised. It's almost midnight, man. Everything okay? I need a favor, I say. And I need you to keep it between us. There's a pause. Mike's smart enough to read between the lines. What kind of favor? The kind that involves a BMW and a Marriott hotel. Another pause, longer this time. Jesus, Jason, I'm sorry. Don't be sorry yet, I say. Just help me figure out what I'm dealing with. You sure you want to know? I look around the living room, at the family photos on the mantle, the kids' artwork stuck to the refrigerator, the life Laura and I built together over 15 years of marriage. All of it feels like evidence in a case I'm about to lose. Yeah, I say, I'm sure. Mike agrees to look into it, no charge. Friends don't charge friends for confirmation that their marriages are over. After I hang up, I sit in the dark for another hour, listening to the house settle around me. Somewhere upstairs, Laura is sleeping peacefully, probably dreaming about her new life with Uncle Scott. But I'm done sleeping. I'm done pretending. And I'm definitely done being the fool in this particular story. The next few days pass in a blur of routine deception. Laura works late, I work at Murphy's, the girls go to school and practice and play dates, and we all pretend we're still a family, but something has shifted. I find myself studying Laura when she thinks I'm not looking, cataloging the changes I was too blind or too trusting to notice before. She's lost weight. Her hair is different, more expensive, more styled. She's been buying new clothes, claiming she needs to look more professional for the senior partners. Even her perfume is different, something floral and sophisticated that probably costs more than I make in a week at the bar. Mike calls me Thursday afternoon while I'm on break at Murphy's. You sitting down? He asks. Just tell me. 3 months, he says. Maybe longer. They've been using the hotel twice a week, sometimes 3 times. Always the same room. Scott Morrison pays for everything. Room, dinner, drinks. Guy's got money to burn. 3 months. While I was scrambling to find work, worrying about our mortgage, lying awake at night wondering how to rebuild my life, Laura was building a new one with someone else. There's more, Mike continues. Morrison's married too. Wife and 2 kids in Newton. Nice house, nice neighborhood. He's been telling people at the firm that he's separated, but public records show no divorce filing. So, Scott's a liar too. Somehow that makes me feel slightly better. At least Laura's not running off with an honest man. You want photos? Mike asks. No. The word comes out harder than I intended. I believe you. What are you going to do? Good question. The old Jason would have confronted Laura immediately, demanded explanations, probably ended up begging her to stay. But the old Jason is gone, replaced by someone who's learned that sometimes the best revenge is patience. I'm going to think about it, I tell Mike. That night, Laura comes home with another story about late meetings and difficult clients. She's getting sloppy with the details, mixing up case names, forgetting which excuse she used the night before. Part of me wants to call her out on it, but I've got a better idea brewing. Friday afternoon, I'm at Beth's soccer game when I see him. Scott Morrison standing near the parking lot, checking his phone with the casual arrogance of a man who thinks he's untouchable. He's wearing khakis and a polo shirt, trying to look like a suburban dad instead of a home-wrecking adulterer. Laura's car pulls up, and she gets out wearing workout clothes and sunglasses. They don't kiss or touch. Too public, too risky. But the way they look at each other tells the whole story. There's an intimacy there, a shared secret that makes me feel like I'm watching strangers. Beth scores a goal, and I cheer loud enough to get their attention. Laura waves at me like nothing's wrong, like her boyfriend isn't standing 20 feet away pretending to be interested in youth soccer. The audacity is breathtaking. After the game, Beth runs over to me, sweaty and excited about her goal. Laura approaches more slowly, Scott trailing behind like a well-dressed shadow. Great game, kiddo, I tell Beth, giving her a hug that probably lasts longer than necessary. Thanks, Dad. Did you see my goal? Best one of the season. Laura reaches us, slightly out of breath. Sorry I'm late. Work was crazy. No problem, I say, then look directly at Scott. I don't think we've met. There's a moment of panic in Laura's eyes before she recovers. This is Scott Morrison. He works at the firm. Scott extends his hand with a smile that doesn't reach his eyes. Nice to meet you, Jason. Laura talks about you all the time. I bet she does. I shake his hand, making sure my grip is just a little too firm, holding it just a little too long. Funny, she never mentions you. The smile falters slightly. Well, we work in different departments. Right, different departments. I release his hand and turn back to Beth. Ready to go home? I was thinking we could stop for ice cream. As we walk toward my truck, I can feel them watching me. Laura's probably wondering what I know, and Scott's probably wondering if he should be worried. They should both be wondering, because the old Jason, the one who would have confronted them right there in front of God and everyone, is gone. The new Jason has learned patience, and the new Jason is just getting started. That weekend, while Laura is at another client meeting, I take the girls to visit my friend Frankie at his boxing gym. It's a rundown place in the old part of town, all exposed brick and heavy bags and the smell of sweat and determination. Frankie used to train semi-professionally before his knees gave out, and he's been after me for months to start working out again. You need to hit something, he tells me while the girls watch some of the younger boxers practice. And I mean that literally. I haven't boxed since college, but muscle memory is a funny thing. After 20 minutes on the heavy bag, my hands are sore and my shoulders are burning, but I feel more like myself than I have in months. There's something therapeutic about hitting something that can't hit back, about channeling frustration into physical action. Feel better? Frankie asks. Getting there. Good, because you look like heck, and everyone knows it. Even the regulars at Murphy's are talking. Great. I've become the subject of bar gossip. What are they saying? That your wife's stepping out, and you're too nice to do anything about it. Too nice. That stings because it's probably true. The old Jason was too nice, too trusting, too willing to give people the benefit of the doubt. But nice guys don't survive situations like this. Nice guys get walked on, lied to, and eventually discarded when they're no longer useful. Maybe I'm not as nice as people think, I tell Frankie. He grins, showing off a gold tooth. Now you're talking. Monday morning brings a surprise. I'm getting ready for my day shift at Murphy's when there's a knock at the door. I open it to find a well-dressed woman in her 70s, with silver hair and kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. Mr. Reed, my name is Eleanor Voss. I wonder if I might have a word with you. I don't recognize her, but there's something familiar about her face. What can I do for you, Mrs. Voss? It's about your father. My father died when I was 15, and we weren't exactly close. He was a drinker, a gambler, and, according to my mother, a womanizer who couldn't keep his promises or his pants zipped. Whatever Mrs. Voss wants to discuss, it can't be good news. Would you like to come in? She settles into our living room like she belongs there, declining my offer of coffee but accepting a glass of water. Up close, I can see she's not just well-dressed, she's wealthy. Her jewelry is understated but expensive. Her handbag is leather that probably costs more than my truck. And she carries herself with the confidence of someone who's never had to worry about money. Your father and I were close, she begins, choosing her words carefully. Many years ago, before he married your mother. Great. Another one of Dad's conquests, probably here to tell me about some half-sibling I never knew existed. Mrs. Voss, if this is about money, it is about money, she interrupts. But not the way you think. She reaches into her purse and pulls out a thick envelope. Your father was a complicated man, but he loved you very much. He used to show me your pictures, tell me about your grades, your baseball games. He was very proud. This doesn't sound like the father I remember, the man who missed more games than he attended, who forgot my birthday 3 years running, who left my mother to raise me alone after he wrapped his car around a tree on Route 9. He made mistakes, Mrs. Voss continues, but he never stopped loving you, and I never stopped loving him. She hands me the envelope. Inside are legal documents, bank statements, and a letter in handwriting I don't recognize. The numbers on the bank statements make my head spin. $43 million, Mrs. Voss says quietly. It's yours. I stare at the papers, certain there's been some kind of mistake. I don't understand. I never married, never had children. Your father was the love of my life, even though we couldn't be together. When I learned about your current difficulties, I decided it was time. How do you know about my difficulties? She smiles sadly. Small town, Mr. Reed. People talk, and I've been keeping an eye on you for years. $43 million. The number keeps bouncing around in my head like a pinball. Yesterday, I was worried about making rent, and now I'm sitting across from a woman who's just made me wealthy beyond my wildest dreams. There are conditions, she continues. The money is yours, but it must be kept secret for now. No one can know, not your wife, not your children, no one. Can you do that? I think about Laura, probably at the hotel right now with Scott, planning their future while I worry about our past. I think about the lies, the deception, the casual cruelty of being erased from my own life. Yes, I say. I can keep a secret. Mrs. Voss stands to leave, but pauses at the door. Your father always said you were stronger than you knew. I think it's time you found out if he was right. After she's gone, I sit in the living room, holding papers that represent more money than I've ever imagined. $43 million. Enough to change everything, to rewrite the rules of the game Laura thinks she's winning. I call in sick to Murphy's and spend the day with a lawyer, setting up accounts and trusts, making sure everything is legal and legitimate. By evening, I'm officially wealthy, though nothing in my life looks different. Same house, same truck, same problems. But everything has changed, because now I have options, now I have power, and now I have the resources to stop being the victim in my own story. Laura comes home that night with takeout Thai food and a story about client dinners running late. She's glowing in that way women glow when they're happy, when their lives are full of possibility and excitement. It would be beautiful if it weren't built on lies. How was your day? She asks, the question automatic and meaningless. Interesting, I say, and for the first time in months, I'm telling the truth. Over the next few days, I start making plans. Not revenge fantasies, something more sophisticated than that. I begin thinking like a businessman again, analyzing problems and developing solutions. The problem is simple. My wife is cheating on me with a married coworker, and they both think I'm too weak to do anything about it. The solution is more complex, but infinitely more satisfying. First, I hire a real private investigator, not Mike, who's too close to the situation, but a professional firm in Boston that specializes in corporate investigations. I want to know everything about Scott Morrison, his finances, his marriage, his weaknesses, his secrets. Second, I start documenting everything. Not just the affair, but Laura's lies, her neglect of the children, her increasingly erratic behavior. I'm building a case, gathering evidence for a custody battle I hope never to fight. Third, I begin my own transformation. I keep working at Murphy's, partly for appearances, partly because I have grown to enjoy the honest simplicity of the work. But I also start working out seriously, spending hours at Frankie's gym, rebuilding the body I let fall apart during 2 years of depression and self-pity. The change is gradual but noticeable. I stand straighter, speak more confidently, meet people's eyes when they talk to me. The regulars at Murphy's start treating me differently, less like a charity case, more like someone worth knowing. Even Frankie notices. "You're different," he says one afternoon while I'm working the heavy bag. Stronger. What changed? I remembered who I used to be, I tell him, which is true as far as it goes. The private investigators work fast. Within a week, I know more about Scott Morrison than his own wife probably does. He's not just cheating with Laura. He's been having affairs for years, a pattern of behavior that goes back to college. His marriage is a facade, his finances are a mess despite his expensive lifestyle, and he's been lying to Laura about his divorce proceedings because there aren't any. More interesting is what I learn about his work at the firm. Scott's been billing personal time as client hours, inflating his numbers to make himself look more valuable. It's not quite embezzlement, but it's certainly unethical. The kind of thing that could end a legal career if the right people found out about it. I also learn about his hobbies. Scott Morrison is obsessed with his car, a BMW M3 that he treats like a religious artifact. He spends weekends detailing it, posts photos of it on social media, and, according to the investigator, once broke up with a girlfriend because she spilled coffee on the passenger seat. This gives me an idea. Thursday night, while Laura is at another late meeting, I drive to the hotel downtown. Scott's BMW is parked in the garage, gleaming under the fluorescent lights like a blue metallic shrine to midlife crisis. I don't key it or slash the tires, nothing that obvious. Instead, I do something much more subtle and infinitely more satisfying. I call a towing company and report the car as abandoned. It's not technically abandoned, of course, but the parking garage has confusing signage, and Scott parked in a spot that could be interpreted as reserved for hotel guests only. By the time he comes down from room 412, his precious BMW is gone. I wait across the street in my truck, watching through the hotel lobby windows. Scott appears around 10:30, Laura beside him, both looking relaxed and satisfied. They walk toward the garage together, probably planning their next rendezvous, completely unaware that their evening is about to take a turn. The confusion starts slowly. Scott checks his phone, thinking maybe he forgot where he parked. Then the confusion turns to concern, then to panic. I can see him pacing, gesturing wildly while Laura tries to calm him down. He's on his phone now, probably calling the police to report a stolen car. 20 minutes later, they emerge from the garage. Laura gets into her car and drives away, probably heading home to tell me about her late meeting. Scott calls an Uber, standing on the sidewalk looking like a man whose world has just shifted off its axis. The next morning, I'm working the breakfast shift at Murphy's when my phone rings. It's Laura, and she sounds stressed. "Jason, something weird happened last night. Scott Morrison's car was towed from the hotel garage. He thinks it was a mistake." "That's too bad," I say, flipping pancakes with one hand. "Why are you telling me this?" There's a pause. "I was there, at the hotel. We were having drinks with a client." The lie comes so easily that I almost admire her creativity. Sounds like a rough night. He's really upset about the car. It's going to cost him almost $1,000 to get it back. Maybe he should read parking signs more carefully. Another pause. "You sound different." "Different how?" "I don't know. Less sympathetic, I guess." She's right. The old Jason would have made sympathetic noises, maybe even offered to help somehow. But the old Jason didn't know about room 412, didn't know about the 3-month affair, didn't know he was being played for a fool by his own wife. "Maybe I'm just tired," I tell her. "Are you okay? You've seemed distant lately." The irony is breathtaking. She's been lying to me for months, cheating on me with a married coworker, rewriting our family history to accommodate her affair, and now she's worried that I seem distant. "I'm fine, Laura, just focused on work." "Okay, well, I'll probably be late again tonight. This case is really heating up." "I'm sure it is." After she hangs up, I allow myself a small smile. Scott Morrison's day is about to get worse, and he has no idea why. The car incident was just the opening move in a much larger game, and I'm finally ready to start playing seriously. That afternoon, I make a call to the Massachusetts Bar Association. I don't identify myself, just ask about the process for reporting ethical violations by attorneys. The woman on the phone is helpful and thorough, explaining that billing irregularities are taken very seriously, especially when they involve inflated hours and personal time charged to clients. I don't file a complaint, not yet, but I want Scott to know it's coming. So I do something that would have been unthinkable for the old Jason. I send him an anonymous email with copies of his billing records and a simple message. People in glass houses shouldn't throw stones. The effect is immediate. According to my private investigator, Scott spends Friday morning in closed-door meetings with senior partners. looking increasingly panicked as the day progresses. He cancels his afternoon appointments and leaves the office early, probably to consult with his own lawyer. Laura comes home that night looking troubled. She's distracted during dinner, checking her phone constantly, barely engaging with the girls. When Beth asks about her day, Laura gives a vague answer about challenging cases and difficult clients. "Is everything okay at work?" I ask innocently. "Fine," she says quickly. "Just some office politics. Nothing important." But it's clearly important to her. She's wound tight, nervous in a way I haven't seen since the early days of our marriage when she was studying for the bar exam. Whatever's happening at the firm, it's got her rattled. Good. It's about time she felt some of the anxiety she's been putting me through. That weekend, while Laura deals with her office politics, I take the girls to a Red Sox game. It's something we used to do as a family, back when we were actually a family, but Laura begged off with another client meeting excuse. Beth and Janie are thrilled to have me to themselves, and I realize how long it's been since I've been fully present with them. For months, I've been distracted by my failing marriage, my financial problems, my wounded pride. But sitting in Fenway Park, watching my daughters cheer for home runs and argue over Cracker Jack, I remember what I'm really fighting for. It's not about winning Laura back. That ship has sailed. It's about building a life where my daughters can respect their father, where they can see that good people don't always finish last, and that sometimes the underdog gets to write the ending. "Dad," Beth says during the seventh inning stretch, "are you and Mom getting divorced?" The question hits me like a fastball to the chest. Why would you ask that? You don't talk to each other anymore. And Mom's always working now. Sarah's parents got divorced last year, and it started the same way. Janie looks up from her cotton candy, suddenly interested in a conversation she's probably been dreading. At 8, she still believes in happy endings and families that stay together forever. "Your mom and I are having some problems," I tell them, choosing my words carefully. "But whatever happens between us, we both love you girls more than anything in the world." "Will we have to choose?" Janie asks, her voice small. "No, sweetheart. You'll never have to choose. It's a promise I intend to keep, no matter what it costs me." Monday morning brings news that Scott Morrison has taken a leave of absence from the firm. The official story is stress-related, but according to my sources, he's actually been suspended pending an investigation into his billing practices. The anonymous tip about his ethical violations has triggered a full audit of his client accounts. Laura is devastated, though she tries to hide it. She claims Scott is a friend and colleague, that she's worried about his career and his family. The concern in her voice is real, but it's not the concern of a coworker. It's the concern of a woman watching her lover's life fall apart. "I might visit him," she says over breakfast. "Just to check on him." "That's nice of you," I say, buttering my toast with careful precision. "I'm sure he appreciates having such a good friend." She looks at me sharply, probably wondering if there's sarcasm in my voice. There is, but I keep it subtle. The old Jason would have been obvious in his anger, would have tipped his hand with dramatic confrontations and wounded accusations. The new Jason is more patient, more strategic. That evening, Laura goes to visit Scott, probably to comfort him and plan their next move. I use the opportunity to have a serious conversation with the girls about what's been happening in our family. "I know you've noticed that Mom and I haven't been getting along," I tell them as we're cleaning up after dinner. "Are you getting divorced?" Beth asks again. "Probably," I admit, "but that doesn't mean we love you any less." "Will we live with you or Mom?" Janie wants to know. "We'll figure that out together, but I want you to know that no matter what happens, you can always talk to me. About anything, even if it's about Mom." Beth nods seriously. "Dad, Mom's been lying about work." My heart stops. "What do you mean?" "She says she's working late, but last week I called the office and they said she'd left hours ago, and she's been getting her hair done a lot and buying new clothes." Kids see everything. I've been so focused on protecting them from the truth that I forgot they're smart enough to figure it out on their own. "Sometimes adults make mistakes," I tell them. "Sometimes they do things they shouldn't do." "Is Mom making mistakes?" Janie asks. Yeah, sweetheart, I think she is. It's the most honest conversation I've had in months, and it feels like a weight lifting off my chest. My daughters deserve better than lies and pretense. They deserve a father who tells them the truth, even when it's painful. The next few weeks pass in a strange kind of limbo. Scott remains on suspension while the Bar Association investigates his billing practices. Laura grows increasingly anxious, spending long hours on the phone with hushed conversations and worried expressions. She's still lying about her whereabouts, but the lies are getting more elaborate and less believable. Meanwhile, I'm planning my next move. The private investigators have given me everything I need to destroy Scott Morrison's career and reputation. I have documentation of his affair with Laura, evidence of his billing fraud, proof that he's been lying to both his wife and my wife about his divorce proceedings. But I want more than just Scott's destruction. I want Laura to understand the full cost of her betrayal. I want her to realize that actions have consequences, that the man she married and then discarded isn't as weak as she thought. The opportunity comes in early November at Beth's school fundraiser. It's one of those mandatory social events where parents pretend to enjoy overpriced wine and silent auctions while networking and gossiping about each other's lives. Laura and I attend together, playing the role of a happy couple for the sake of appearances. The evening is going smoothly until Scott Morrison walks in. He looks terrible. Thinner, older, with the kind of stress lines that come from watching your life implode in slow motion. He's alone, which means his wife has probably figured out what kind of man she married. When he sees Laura across the room, his face lights up with desperate hope. Laura freezes when she spots him. They haven't seen each other since his suspension, and she's clearly not prepared for a public encounter. The smart thing would be for Scott to leave, to avoid the kind of scene that could make their situation worse. But Scott Morrison has never been particularly smart. He approaches us with the false confidence of a man who's already lost everything and has nothing left to lose. Jason, Laura, good to see you. Scott, I say pleasantly. How are you holding up? Oh, taking some time off, dealing with some legal issues, nothing I can't handle. He's lying, of course. According to my sources, Scott's suspension is about to become permanent disbarment. His marriage is over, and his financial situation is desperate. But he's still trying to project success, still trying to impress Laura with his resilience. That's good to hear, I say. Laura's been worried about you. Laura shoots me a warning look, but I ignore it. This conversation has been months in the making, and I'm not about to waste the opportunity. Have you? Scott asks Laura, his voice hopeful. We all have, Laura says carefully. It's been difficult for everyone at the firm. Right. The firm. Scott's smile falters slightly. Well, I should be back soon, once this whole misunderstanding gets sorted out. Misunderstanding? I ask. I thought it was about billing irregularities. The question hangs in the air like smoke. Scott's face goes pale and Laura looks like she wants to disappear into the floor. Around us, other parents continue their conversations, oblivious to the drama playing out in their midst. How did you... Scott starts, then stops himself. Small town, I say, echoing Mrs. Voss's words from weeks ago. People talk. Scott excuses himself and heads for the bar, probably to drink away his embarrassment. Laura follows him with her eyes, her expression a mixture of concern and panic. That was cruel, she says quietly. Was it? I thought it was just conversation. You know what you're doing. For the first time in months, she's absolutely right. I know exactly what I'm doing, and I'm just getting started. The rest of the evening passes without incident, but the damage is done. Scott leaves early, and Laura spends the remainder of the fundraiser distracted and anxious. On the drive home, she's unusually quiet. You're different, she says finally. You mentioned that before. I mean it. You're harder somehow. Maybe I've had to be. She doesn't respond, but I can see her thinking, trying to figure out how much I know and what I plan to do about it. The old Jason was predictable. She knew exactly how he'd react to any situation. But the new Jason is an unknown quantity. and that uncertainty is making her nervous. Good. Uncertainty is exactly what I want her to feel. The following week brings the news I've been waiting for. Scott Morrison has been officially disbarred, his law license revoked pending criminal charges for billing fraud. The story makes the local paper, complete with details about inflated hours, personal expenses charged to clients, and a pattern of unethical behavior stretching back years. Laura is devastated. She calls in sick to work, spends the day in bed, and barely speaks to me or the girls. When I bring her tea and ask if she's okay, she just stares at the ceiling and says nothing. "Is this about Scott?" I ask gently. "He's a good man," she says finally. "He doesn't deserve this. Good men don't steal from their clients. You don't understand the pressure he was under." "What pressure?" She turns to look at me, her eyes red from crying. "His divorce has been expensive. His wife took everything. He was just trying to survive." "His divorce?" I sit down on the edge of the bed. "Laura, Scott Morrison isn't divorced. He's still married." The color drains from her face. "That's not true." "It is true. I checked the public records. No divorce filing, no separation agreement. He's been lying to you." She sits up slowly, like a woman waking from a dream. "You checked the records?" "I check a lot of things these days." The implication hangs between us like a loaded tool. Laura stares at me with growing understanding, realizing that her husband, the man she thought was too weak to fight back, has been playing a game she didn't even know existed. "How long have you known?" she asked quietly. "About Scott? About the affair? About room 412? I watch her flinch with each revelation. "Long enough." "Why didn't you say anything?" "Because I wanted to understand what I was dealing with. I wanted to know who my wife really was." She starts to cry then, not the gentle tears of sadness, but the harsh sobs of someone whose world has just collapsed. I should feel sorry for her, but I don't. I feel nothing but a cold satisfaction that justice is finally being served. "Jason, I'm sorry. I never meant for this to happen." "But it did happen, for months. While I was working at Murphy's trying to keep our family together, you were building a new life with someone else." "It wasn't like that." "Then what was it like, Laura? Explain it to me." She can't, of course. There's no explanation that makes sense, no justification that doesn't sound selfish and cruel. She made her choices, and now she has to live with the consequences. "What do you want?" she asked finally. "I want you to pack a bag and leave, tonight." The girls stay with me. You can see them on weekends once we work out a custody arrangement." "You can't do that." "Actually, I can. I have documentation of your affair, evidence of your neglect of the children, and enough money to hire the best divorce attorney in the state." Her eyes widen. "Money? What money?" "That's not your concern anymore." I stand up and head for the door, then turn back for one final word. You wanted freedom, Laura. You wanted excitement, passion, a life without the burden of a failed husband. Well, congratulations. You got exactly what you wanted. She's still crying when I close the bedroom door behind me. An hour later, Laura comes downstairs with a suitcase. The girls are in the living room, supposedly doing homework, but obviously listening to every word. This isn't how I wanted them to learn about the divorce, but Laura forced the timeline. "I'll be staying at a hotel for a few days," she tells them, her voice carefully controlled. "Daddy and I need some time apart." "Are you getting divorced?" Beth asks, even though she already knows the answer. "We're going to try to work things out," Laura says. But her eyes are on me when she says it. I don't contradict her, but I don't confirm it either. There's nothing to work out. The marriage is over, has been over for months. We're just making it official now. After Laura leaves, I sit with the girls and try to explain what's happening in terms they can understand. It's one of the hardest conversations of my life, but also one of the most important. They need to know that their father isn't giving up, isn't running away, isn't abandoning them the way their mother did. "Will we see Mom?" Janie asks. Of course, she's still your mother. But we'll live here with you? Yes, this is your home. Beth nods solemnly. Good. I like it here. That night, after the girls are in bed, I sit in the kitchen with a beer and think about everything that's happened. 6 months ago, I was a broken man working in a dive bar, watching my marriage disintegrate while feeling powerless to stop it. Tonight, I'm a single father with $43 million and a plan for the future. The transformation isn't complete yet. There are still loose ends to tie up, still scores to settle. But for the first time in years, I feel like I'm in control of my own story. The next few weeks are a whirlwind of legal meetings, custody negotiations, and financial planning. Laura tries to fight for half of everything, but she doesn't know about Mrs. Voss's inheritance. And my lawyer is very good at protecting assets that don't officially exist yet. Scott Morrison, meanwhile, has disappeared from town. According to Mike Torres, he's moved back in with his parents in Ohio, broke and disgraced, working at a car dealership while fighting criminal charges. His BMW was repossessed last week. The poetic justice is almost too perfect. Laura's lawyer tries to paint me as vindictive, claims I orchestrated Scott's downfall out of jealousy and spite. It's not entirely wrong, but it's not entirely right either. I didn't create Scott's billing fraud. I just made sure the right people found out about it. I didn't force him to have affairs. I just documented the one that destroyed my marriage. In the end, the divorce settlement is everything I hoped for. I get primary custody of the girls, the house, and most of our assets. Laura gets weekend visitation and the opportunity to rebuild her life from scratch, just like I had to do 2 years ago. The final hearing is on a cold December morning. Laura looks smaller somehow, diminished by the weight of her choices. She's moved in with a friend, taken a job at a smaller firm, and according to Beth, she cries a lot. I should feel sorry for her, but I don't. She made her bed with Scott Morrison, and now she gets to sleep in it alone. After the judge signs the final papers, Laura approaches me in the courthouse hallway. I hope you're happy, she says. I'm getting there. The girls miss me. Then maybe you should have thought of that before you decided they weren't important enough to keep you faithful to their father. She flinches like I've slapped her. That's not fair. Fair? I laugh, and it's not a pleasant sound. You want to talk about fair? Was it fair when you lied to me for months? Was it fair when you used our daughters as alibis for your affair? Was it fair when you made me feel like a failure while you were building a new life with someone else? I made mistakes. You made choices. And choices have consequences. I walk away before she can respond, leaving her standing in the courthouse hallway with the wreckage of the life she threw away. That evening, I take the girls out for dinner at a nice restaurant. Not Murphy's, but the kind of place we couldn't afford when I was working there. They're excited about the fancy menu and the cloth napkins, but mostly they're happy to have their father back. Dad, Beth says over dessert, are you rich now? The question catches me off guard. What makes you ask that? You've been different since Mom left, more confident, and you quit working at the bar. Smart kid. Too smart for her own good sometimes. Let's just say things are looking up, I tell her. Good, Janie says seriously. I didn't like it when you were sad all the time. Neither did I, sweetheart. Neither did I. 6 months later, I'm standing in the backyard of our new house. A beautiful colonial in a better neighborhood, with good schools and safe streets and neighbors who don't know about my failed first marriage. The girls are playing on their new swing set, and I'm grilling burgers for their friend's birthday party. It's a normal Saturday afternoon, the kind I used to dream about during those dark months at Murphy's bar. The kind Laura will never have because she chose excitement over stability, passion over commitment, lies over truth. My phone buzzes with a text from Mike Torres. Saw Laura at the grocery store. She looks rough. You ever feel bad about what happened? I think about the question while I flip the burgers. Do I feel bad? Laura lost her marriage, her lover, her comfortable life, and most of her time with her daughters. Scott lost his career, his reputation, his freedom, and his dignity. Both of them are starting over from nothing, just like I had to do. The difference is they brought it on themselves. I text Mike back, play with fire, get burned. Because that's what this was always about, consequences. For too long, I let people walk over me, lie to me, take advantage of my good nature. I was the nice guy, the understanding husband, the man who always gave second chances even when they weren't deserved. But nice guys don't survive in a world full of people like Laura and Scott. Nice guys get cheated on, lied to, and discarded when they're no longer useful. So I stopped being nice. I started being smart instead. The girls run over for lunch, sweaty and happy and completely unaware that their father is worth $43 million. They don't need to know, not yet. For now, it's enough that they have a stable home, a father who's present and engaged, and the security of knowing that the people who love them won't abandon them for something better. As I watch them eat and laugh with their friends, I think about the man I used to be. Jason Reed, small business owner, faithful husband, devoted father. That man was good and decent and honest, but he was also naive. He believed that good things happened to good people, that marriage vows meant something, that love was enough to hold a family together. The man I am now knows better. He knows that sometimes good people get screwed, that marriage vows are just words, and that love without respect is worthless. But he also knows that the underdog doesn't have to stay down, that revenge is a dish best served cold, and that sometimes the villain gets to write the ending. I'm not the same man Laura married 15 years ago. I'm harder, smarter, more ruthless. I'm the man she created when she decided I wasn't worth her fidelity. And I'm exactly the man my daughters need me to be.